Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the FNAF fan games that completely exceeded everyone's expectations. Whether they started as small projects or were overlooked before released, these games ended up becoming far more impressive than anyone ever imagined. Some of these raised the bar for the entire community, so let's dive into them. IP crossovers is something that happens quite often in different forms of media, and Five Nights at Freddy's is no exception. We've seen classics such as Five Nights at Sonic's and Five Nights at Wario's. However, I'm sure you can think of many other crossovers this massive genre has. I've recently learned about a FNAF game that has a crossover with another massive horror piece of media, and I'm very excited to share with you my experience with said game today. This game is very cool and incredibly difficult, so strap in and join me today as we dive into the world of SCP: The Endurance. When I first saw this game, I was really concerned that it was going to lean more into being a game like SCP Containment Breach instead of Five Nights at Freddy's. But luckily for me, I'm not going to have to bust through randomly generated rooms. Maybe in another video, I'll be forced to do that. But for now, yes, this game does follow the typical Five Nights at Freddy's formula. In SCP: The Endurance, we play as a Class D personnel. For those of you unfamiliar with SCP, Class D personnel are the lowest level of individuals of the SCP Foundation, consisting mostly of death row inmates. They usually live in solitary confinement cells and are often tasked with doing very dangerous things that could easily get them killed. And of course, this game has us do just that. The game opens to an infomercial designed for these Class D personnel, offering all of them the chance for some major benefits if they take part in the Endurance program, which by the way is slang for kill yourself. We've all seen situations like this before in media, and it's honestly one of my favorite story structures, so I was pretty excited when I first saw this. The task we have to complete, of course, is surviving 6 nights while watching over a section of the facility, while 8 monsters try and mush up your insides and make a nice little inside soup. We obviously don't want that to happen, so what tools do we have at our disposal to prevent such a catastrophe from happening? Well, let's start with stuff you'll always be using that isn't character specific. To your right, you have a door that can be closed. Pretty standard FNAF stuff. The longer the door is closed, the more power it will consume. In front of you, there is a hallway that you can flash, exactly like FNAF 2, except this time around, when something is in the hallway, the most ear-grating PTSD-inducing sound of all time doesn't play. Of course, there's the camera system, which does something that makes my dick hurt when I see it. That being that the camera has multiple levels for you to look at. There's nothing wrong with this mechanic, by the way. Just thought I'd mention how it makes me want to shit out my own organs. And finally, you can turn off the power to both your cameras and the entire building. The reasons for doing both of these things will become important later, so for now, just don't worry about it. Actually, that's a lie. Nothing actually happens on night 1 as it's just introductory, so I actually want to take this time to talk about the fucked up shit that is this game's power supply. This game drains power so fast, it isn't even funny. This is to encourage you to shut off essential systems to save on that power, because if you don't, there is literally zero chance you will survive the later nights. Inside of the cameras, you have the ability to turn off your ventilation. This game takes place underground, so if it's off for too long, you'll just suffocate and die. But it will make your power drain slightly slower, and in a game where you'll be completing each night with single-digit power integers, that is huge. Obviously, that's also where shutting off your cameras comes into play, as that will also save some power for you. However, booting up the cameras does take about 3 seconds, and with how brutal this game gets with character speed on later nights, I promise you that 3 seconds is a lot of time to wait. However, shutting off the cameras will also be essential to actually surviving the nights in this game. Now is the time I should mention how you need to start each night, as it's not as simple as just listening to the phone call. Each night you will have to boot up the computer for the first time by using a password. This password is randomly generated each time you start up a night. So if you die on night 4, for example, when you retry night 4, the password will change yet again. Each night starts with you booting up the PC and typing in the password. I highly recommend that you Control A, Control C, and Control V the password at the start of the night as well. Because if either you or something else shuts off the power to the facility and you have to turn it back on, you will have to re-enter this password. So being able to copy and paste it is obviously a big time saver. We also have access to an SCP library where we can learn and read about the SCPs that we'll be encountering. Most of these entries are mainly for lore reasons, and in all honesty, I don't have a lot of interest in diving into the behaviors of each character, as it's literally pretty much just a wiki page. So I probably won't be doing that much in this video. I'm imagining most of you who are watching my channel frequently also probably know at least a little bit about SCPs anyways. Again, as I said, Night 1 doesn't actually have any threats. You just get taught by the phone guy, Ronald, how to do everything you need to do, and that's about it. But now we can hop into Night 2. And holy shit, this game goes from 0 to 80 really fucking fast. Night 2 introduces 5 characters. That is over half the fucking roster on Night 2. I'm going to start with the easiest characters and work my way to the hardest. Strap in because this is going to get interesting. By far, the easiest character to deal with in my opinion is SCP-860-2, who I will just be referring to as SCP-860. 860 is the only character that uses your door. It will appear outside of the door far away in the trees. Which, by the way, side note, I don't really know why there are trees outside of this door. We are underground, but whatever. Throughout the night, it will approach your door until it is right up next to it. When it is, all you have to do is close the door and wait to hear it run away. If this door is closed for too long, the power to the building will be shut off and you will have to completely reboot, re-entering the password to the computer and all. I believe this is the easiest character simply because of how infrequently he attacks in comparison to the other characters. You may see him 5 or 6 times a night, which is a godsend compared to some of the other assholes we'll be talking about in a bit. The next easiest character, in my opinion, is SCP-066. 066 is just a giant pile of meat with some eyeballs. 066 by itself will not actually be able to end your runs. Instead, it cosplays as Satan. It will attack from the vent on your ceiling. At random times, you may see the vent on your ceiling open up. When you see this, you will have to simply click the vent to close it, and that's all. If you leave it open for too long, 066 will drop into your office and stay there for the rest of the night. While there, it will slowly increase the AI values of all of the other characters, which, by the way, has the chance to increase their AI values over the max 20, which, yes, will still make them harder. It also has the random chance to play sounds at 140 decibels, so just really don't let him into your office. You may be wondering why I've chosen to call 066 more difficult than 860, despite the fact that all you have to do is mindlessly click when you hear a noise. Well, that's because 066 is probably the fastest character in the entire game. On later nights, you will have less than 2 seconds to react and close the vent. And of course, it itself doesn't kill you. The ramping AI of the other characters probably will. Of course, that's unless you're Frogger and beat the 820 mode with 066 in the office the entire night. That guy's a madman. Next, we'll talk about SCP-096, arguably one of the most popular SCPs of all time. SCP-096 has the chance to spawn literally anywhere in the entire building, whether that be on any of the cameras or even directly in your office. Wherever it happens to be, all you have to do is stop looking at it. If it's in your office, flip up and down the camera quickly. If it's in the camera, either switch cameras or pull the camera down. While yes, 096 is not a problem by itself, it's in combination with how hectic and stressful the rest of the game gets, which is the reason I think 096 is as annoying and difficult as it is. SCP-106 is the next degenerate I'd like to talk about. This is the pocket dimension asshole, by the way, if you were curious. Occasionally, you will both hear and see 106 in your office. When you do, you'll have to put on the mask. Oh yeah, you have a mask, by the way. I know I forgot to mention that. I just wanted to keep you on your toes. And I totally didn't just forget it existed until I started talking about 106. So shut up. If you don't put the mask on fast enough, it appears one of 2 things could happen. I think. Maybe it's every time, but I've seen this not happen to some people on deaths to 106 multiple times. When you become caught by 106, it has a chance to teleport you to a pocket dimension. We're in the fucking guy that we're in the guy that does fucking genjutsu, aren't we? Oh my. What the fuck? What? Yo! This is sick as fuck. Oh, he dead. Oh, he dead. Where the game is put into a 3D environment where you have to complete some parkour across some rocks to escape. If you do manage to escape, then congrats, you get to continue the night. But of course, chances are you'll have spent too long in the pocket dimension that you'll probably die upon coming back. This pocket dimension also has some interesting secrets by itself, but I'll be talking about that a bit later in the video. Sitting there doing nothing in the mask is obviously not something you're going to want to be doing while being ass pounded by 7 other characters, so that puts 106 pretty high up on the difficulty chart in my eyes. SCP-173 is by far the most grueling and annoying character in this entire game. He acts as this game's main reason for using the cameras, which also really sucks because in most cases you'd prefer to have your cameras off just because of how horrifically quickly the power drains. 173 will slowly move throughout the building until it gets to your vent. You may notice to your left a giant vent is open on the wall. Yeah, if he gets there, you're dead. So, how do you stop him? Well, by staring at him on the cameras, of course. 173 has this super awesome and totally not penis tearing attribute where it will never move backwards and only forwards. So you really have to make sure you have your eyes on this thing the entire night. However, I should mention that once 173 gets to your office, that it's not an immediate game over. Oh, hey, I'm not blinking. I am not blinking and I'm looking right at you. Looking right at you. There's actually 2 phases it will have to get through before it can slither inside of you like one of those parasites that will swim up your urethra if you piss in a gross lake. I don't know. In true 173 fashion, if you're looking at him, he won't move. But if you open the cameras, turn to the side to deal with 860 and the door, or anything else that blocks your view of 173, it will move through its phases before blowing up your anus. Again, 173 is easily the most difficult character throughout this entire game, only being rivaled by one other asshole who we'll talk about later. But for now, if you can deal with all of that bullshit combined, you will successfully beat Night 2. Yeah? Did you forget we were only talking about Night 2? Yeah, there's still 4 more of these, so strap in. Night 3 introduces one new threat. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. It introduces the remaining 3 because fuck you. Those characters being SCP-049, SCP-1048, and SCP-079. Only one of these characters is actually a big issue, so let's talk about the less annoying 2 first. Let's start with what I feel is the easiest to deal with of these 3, SCP-1048. It's just a teddy bear. But a teddy bear that can move, to be fair. It takes advantage of your hallway. Appearing in it throughout the night, it will try to enter your office and murder the shit out of you. All you have to do is keep your flashlight on him to push him backwards. Not hard at all, just another power waster of a character. SCP-049 is the Plague Doctor, and I honestly wish I had the plague while playing this game so that I had a good excuse to just kill myself rather than continuing. 049 makes use of the 2 lockable doors on the bottom layer of the cameras. You can only lock one of these doors at a time, and thankfully doing so doesn't waste any power, and they don't unlock if the PC is shut off. If you see 049 at either door, simply lock it and it'll be no problem. The actual difficulty of 049 just comes in the likelihood that you will forget he even exists, and only remember once you find him in your office. And finally, the second most difficult character in SCP the Endurance is SCP-079. This guy is just a little quirky fella, really. He's just a bored little guy that really wants to play tic-tac-toe with you. What is this? What is that? Yes, I'm serious. There is a special panel to the left of your office. Throughout the night, 079 will play games of tic-tac-toe with you. Now, you may be a little inclined to completely pummel this stupid fucking computer's ass while playing this game with it. But I would actually advise against that, as if you lose too many games or win too many games against it, it'll get pissed off and start fucking with your lights and doors, which will probably end up leading to a death. So it's actually the best practice to just constantly draw against 079 every time you play. And there you have it. That is every single character in SCP the Endurance and how they work, all introduced on the 3rd night. And it's only going to continue to get more and more soul-sucking as your playthrough goes on. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I couldn't complete Night 5. I put in a lot of attempts, but as I've mentioned multiple times in the past, I'm very bad at FNAF games, and I just couldn't beat it. I'm sure if I continued to pour in attempts that eventually I would complete it, as I did get to 5 AM a decent handful of times. I still have no desires to spend hours trying. I'd much prefer to just talk about it. After completing night 5, we get the special meal we were mentioned to get at the beginning of the game in the infomercial. But guess what? We're still depressed because we're still in solitary confinement, and I'm about to tear my hair out, except I've already torn all the hair out of my head, so you'll have to use your imagination to figure out where I'm tearing the rest of my hair from. However, we're not done talking about this game quite yet, as there still are some cool things that it has to offer. Mainly, now is the time I want to talk about SCP-106, or Larry's Pocket Dimension, and how important it is for unlocking both Night 6 and this game's secret ending. The first step to unlocking the secret ending is finding the 3 burnt pages in Larry's Pocket Dimension. There are skeletons all around this dimension, and every time you enter, a piece of a burnt page will appear next to one of them, which, yes, means you will have to go into his Pocket Dimension multiple times to acquire them all. The platforming in this game does make me want to skin a puppy alive, but hey, it's a FNAF game, not a platformer, so I guess that means something. Oh, and you want to know the best part? The Pocket Dimensions are totally random, so you could get the Pocket Dimension to spawn the same page multiple times, which means in theory it could take hours for you to ever be able to collect all 3, and you can't do the secret ending until you get all 3 of them, even though the code on it doesn't change. So that's realistically probably the worst part of this entire game. Spoiler alert, FNAF fans aren't a super huge fan of RNG. Who would have thought? Once you get all 3 pages and escape, you will be able to put them together in your office to reveal the code PGF4B. Typing this code into the computer instead of the one on the sticky notes will unlock Night 6. Night 6 is where you can get the secret ending. Not only is Night 6 hard as fuck, but getting the secret ending only makes Night 6 even harder. Once in Night 6, you will want to once again type in the burnt note code PGF4B. After it boots, you'll want to type in the command run power manager. This will give you a special tab on your second monitor that you can use to control all of the power in the building. This is where the secret ending makes Night 6 very hard. Obviously, Night 6 by itself is already difficult, having several threats to keep track of and having to react very quickly to all of them. However, the additional tasks this secret ending requires only serves to add more confusion and stress to your plate. In this new Power Manager menu, you will be able to click through every room of every floor in the facility. It looks a lot more confusing than it really is. The only sections that matter are the rooms that contain the elevators. You'll have to go to each elevator room and turn the power to each of them on by manually typing in codes. This section heavily reminds me of some of the tasks you're required to do in Banshee, another FNAF game I've covered on this channel. You should definitely watch that video after this one if you haven't already, by the way. This is the main reason I think this secret ending is so stressful. There is already so much bullshit happening at the same time that to add in precision typing on top of that really makes for a super tense experience. And while no, I never did it myself, I applaud anyone who was actually able to pull this insane shit off. After turning on the power to each elevator floor, our character will actually speak.
It worked! I can finally get the hell out of here.
Which is where I learned that we play as a female throughout this game. Not that that really matters, just something I wasn't expecting. We get a final cutscene of our inmate leaving the building, avoiding all the characters she'd been going up against thus far, and escaping the facility, only to find out that she was right in the sights of an SCP worker's gun. We never get to see if the bullet hits her, but we can only hope it didn't and that she was finally able to escape. But don't click off the video yet, you little piece of shit! I see you checking how much longer there is trying to fuck up my retention. Stop it! You stop it! Naughty! Anyways, I've still got something else I want to talk about in this game that I think is really cool. So, it's becoming more and more common for FNAF games to integrate Game Jolt achievements. I think that's awesome. I think achievement hunting is super cool. But something I notice about a lot of these FNAF game achievements is that they're boring. Oh, beat night 1, beat night 5, beat night 6, beat all 20 mode. Stuff you would imagine people are already doing, which I feel makes them not feel like achievements a lot of the time. SCP The Endurance also has these achievements, except I've noticed that it also has a lot of super fun ones. So I'd like to dedicate this section to talking about those achievements. The first achievement I want to mention is called Seriously How. It can be achieved by dying on night 1. You may be wondering how that's even possible, considering there are no characters active and you have unlimited power. Well, there still is one way to kill yourself during night 1, and that's by turning off the ventilation and suffocating yourself. If you do that, ta-da! You've got yourself an achievement. It's a goofy one, yes, but I still think it's pretty cool. The next achievement I want to mention is called There You Are. This achievement can be obtained by allowing SCP-1048 to completely enter your office. Once he does, if you spam click his nose enough, you'll get this achievement. Yes, quite a few of these are pretty silly by the way, but that's why I like them. The next achievement is called Oh Whoa, What's This? Hey, shut up. I just told you they were silly. This one can be achieved by simply using the command commands or help in the terminal. You're a femboy, aren't you? Don't lie. I said oh whoa and I saw your little stupid ass fucking light up, freak. The next interesting achievement is called One Step Forward, Two Steps Back, and can be achieved by collecting one of the burnt notes in 106's pocket dimension and proceeding to fall out of the world and die. Interesting that they chose to call that an achievement, considering you didn't actually achieve anything at all. There are also 2 achievements that can be incredibly difficult to achieve. The first of which is called Catch Me If You Can. You get this achievement by surviving the night after aggroing SCP-096, which isn't necessarily too hard if you aggro him right at the end of the night, but you also have to hope that you can find him right at the end of the night. The other, much more difficult achievement is Staring Contest. This one is ass, I can't even lie to you. You have to let SCP-173 into your office for at least 1 entire hour of the night, so 1 minute real time. This is disgusting, because you literally can't look away from him. And not looking away from him for a minute will require a good deal of luck to not get butt banged. There's also a really silly achievement called L+ ratio, wherein you complete night 3 without ever looking at the cameras, which I'm not going to lie, just sounds like complete hell. And finally, the last achievement in the game, which I would actually say is worthy of getting a trophy, is called My Goals Are Beyond Your Understanding, which is achieved on night 6 if you turn off every single light in the power manager, then shut off literally everything in the office that you can, leaving you completely vulnerable in literally every way possible. Doing this isn't hard. Doing this on night 6 definitely is. But as far as I'm aware, that's all SCP the Endurance has to offer. Overall, I think this game is incredibly solid. It was in development by one person for over 8 years, and I think it turned out great. Yes, it's really hard. Yes, I think the burnt notes being RNG is bullshit. And yes, I think the game giving you little to no hints for anything in the game is pretty ass. Overall, I still think this experience was a good one. I think this is probably one of the most high-quality FNAF games I've seen in terms of how much dedication was poured into it, and I highly recommend you guys go and give it a try. In my Fredbear and Friends reboot video, I asked you guys what your least favorite mechanic in a FNAF game was, and my favorite answer was this one by Durgiz Nibble. They said having to reboot everything in FNAF 3 whenever you do anything, and I totally agree. I think that reboot panel is one of the most miserable things in any official FNAF game ever, and I would rather use steel wool as a toothbrush than ever have to deal with it again. If there's one thing about the Five Nights at Freddy's lore that I never liked, it was the fact that the games expected you to be able to connect the dots of the story, even though Scott Cawthon himself admitted that he never really knew where it was going. And it's because of that we have a game series with a lore so broken and confusing that nobody really knows what's going on. However, some fan game devs like to take it upon themselves to connect those dots for us and throw their own unique spin on the games, and the game we'll be talking about today is no different. The game we're going to be looking at is called Five Nights at Freddy's: The Flip Side, and I honestly feel like it explains some of the official game's lore's biggest plot holes perfectly, while also offering an incredibly fun gameplay loop. Grab a snack and get ready as we dive into the world of FNAF: The Flip Side.
Hello, Frank? It's me, Henry. Listen, I know you don't work with us anymore, but I really need some help. And I wasn't sure who else to call. We're supposed to test some prototypes for a client. But you know how things are at MCM these days. We're overloaded with projects. If you're available, could you come to Fredbear's? The testing will take place there. I'll make sure they leave the front door open for you. Once you get there, give me a call. There should be a phone in the storage room. Oh, and before you ask, yes, I'll make sure you'll be paid handsomely for this. All right, Frank. I'll be waiting for you.
So there we go. We've got our motive for almost dying for the next 6 nights, and FNAF The Flip Side finally begins. There was a lot of hype for this game, so I'm ready to get right into it. We open to a free roam section of the game where we're free to wander around pretty much the entire building we're about to sit our hairy, smelly, sweaty, unwashed rumps in for the next 6 days. If we walk into the backstage area, we'll get access to something this game calls the Hand. This can be used to listen to audio logs that get added every night, so we should make sure we're always going to check on them. The audio log on night 1 goes as follows.
Come on, turn on. Oh my god. Finally. This is the 5th time I've been called out here. Last week we got these new hand terminals from MCM. William had me install one backstage. I told him very clearly that thing pulls nearly 80% load if it's not on a dedicated circuit. Did we upgrade the wiring? No. Now the diner loses power 10 times a day and somehow it's my fault. They keep telling me to replace the diodes in the fuse box. It's not the damn diodes. But he won't listen. He never listens. He just keeps telling me to fix it. You can't fix stupidity, William. It's failing the exact same way it's supposed to. Yeah, that's it. End log.
I'm on the same page as Daniel here. This is the exact type of bullshit you would expect a stupid, out-of-touch old boss to say to you. Moving on, there are also some collectibles we're told to find. If you couldn't guess, these are needed for the true ending of the game, so make sure you're picking them up unless you want the bad ending for some reason. I would tell you where these bobbleheads are located, however, it seems to be completely random. There was one time it was on the stage, but apparently that was just a bug and it wasn't supposed to happen. So I really have no idea. Just go find them. There's no threats during these sections, so you can take all the time you need. All right, with that out of the way, we can finally jump right into the night sections. And what's a better thing to start talking about aside from the tools at our disposal, like I also like to do at the beginning of these videos? I'm just gonna talk about the camera system because that's literally all that's relevant on this night. It's a camera system, that's really it. The buttons are on the right side of the screen instead of being on a map, so that's pretty cool, I suppose. And on one of the cameras, you can see a window to the street where you can actually watch cars pass by, which I do think is super cool. Really puts you into the immersion that, yes, this is a real place and there are people around. It's a really good way of making you feel more alone, knowing there are people outside of the building who could help you, yet nobody is going to. It's a super creepy thing to think about. If we look at the stage, we can see that the animatronics seem to be characters you can see in the final section of Secret of the Mimic, which I do think is actually super cool. I have yet to see a game that uses those specific characters together, so this could be fun. Oh yeah, I should also probably mention that this game is made by Toaster Dev, the same guy that made FNAF Legacy, and it was also worked on a bunch by Weirdo Speed, another very popular FNAF YouTuber and game dev, so you already know this game is about to be crazy. Now, moving on to the first threat this game and night introduces, that being Fredbear 2.0. I'm just gonna call him Fredbear since that's a lot less typing. Fredbear does not have a lot of places to go before reaching your office. He starts in camera 6 before moving to camera 8, -1. No, I'm not saying it. Fuck you. Then he goes to camera 5, which if you're not looking at your camera while he goes from 7 to 5, you can actually see him walking across the doorway to your office, which is just so fucking cool. I love it when games do shit like this. Holy fuck, I'm gonna skeet everywhere. Anyways, from there he will walk back across the doorway and appear to the left of you. From here, you will enter a quick time minigame that you will need to complete to save your life. This is explained as like some programming that you're doing to Fredbear or something. I don't really know. We don't even lay our hands on him. You will have to use WASD for this minigame. When he enters your office, a timer will appear along with one of the letters. You will have to press through multiple of the letters before the timer runs out or he eats your butt. If you ever mess up a key press, you don't die immediately, but the timer will drop by a few seconds, making it all the more likely it'll eat your butt. But if you can defend yourself from him, he'll teleport back to camera 6 and the cycle will repeat itself. I guess I should also mention that when he's making his way to your office, your cameras will turn yellow with a message telling you that Fredbear is coming. But you shouldn't really need that since you'll be able to hear his loud ass clanker feet making their way towards you. But with that, this night is easy and we can move on to the first post-night minigame. Hooray! Yippee! This post-night minigame is very annoying, I can't even lie, and for a reason that really shouldn't even be apparent, yet apparent it is. The goal of this minigame is to repair Fredbear. The way we do so is both easy, yet doesn't really make any sense. We'll have to pull up our maintenance monitor and drag several shapes into their respective places. You know that square hole game everybody had as a kid? Yeah, it's that. Why the fuck does this fix Fredbear? I literally have no idea at all. Every time you successfully drag a shape, your progress will increase by 2%. Get it to 100 and you complete this minigame. However, you may have noticed I haven't complained about anything yet, which just can't be the case. Fredbear will randomly attack you throughout this minigame. Dealing with him is simple. When he attacks, he automatically pulls your monitor down, and all you have to do is quickly boop his nose to reset him. Apparently, his nose is a button that resets his facial recognition. Sure, buddy, just say you took inspiration from FNAF shitpost. It's okay to admit it. I know, I'm a genius. Now, that's not a problem. No, the problem is these stupid fucking shapes. You would think that the shape at the top that you have to drag would change each time you drag the shape and drop it where it needs to go. But no, that would make too much sense. Instead, what really happens is that the shape will randomly change every 1.5 seconds, regardless of whether you're holding it or not. So you could be just about to drop the square into the square hole, and all of a sudden it turns into a fucking rhombocosydodecahedron at the last second, and now you lose. And what does losing mean? Well, it drops your progress by 20%, and each shape only gives you 2%. Are you fucking me in my dick hole right now? You've got to be kidding me. That's so rape. Oh yeah, and since I'm saying semi-offensive words, I might as well add another one to the list. I saw a guy in my comments recently who timestamped the first time I said the dreaded R word in my video. My guess is they're doing this in a piss-poor attempt to be passive-aggressive, so here, this one's just for you, retard. Moving on to night 2. Night 2 begins with a free roam section. Of course, we could just start the night, but why do that when we could listen to an audio log instead? Yippee!
Hello? Is this thing on? Finally! I need to get this on record, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind. I've had to clean out the fridge in the kitchen again. This is the 5th time this week. The 5th! Isn't this supposed to be the janitor's responsibility, or maintenance, or literally anyone who isn't the head chef? Because last I checked, I was hired to cook food. Yet here I am wondering how this place is still legally allowed to operate. And the fridge? Oh my god, the fridge. I don't even know where they dug this thing up, but it's like it was designed to ruin food. Milk spoils in 2 days. It's not even refrigeration, it's practically accelerated decomposition. I swear it'd be safer leaving the food out on the counter. And don't even get me started on management. William especially. Every time I bring this up, he waves off like it's nothing. We'll look into it. Yeah, sure. You've been looking into it for months. We've poisoned what? 5 customers because of it? 5! Yeah, I can't do it anymore. I quit.
Once again, just adding to the conclusion that William is an out-of-touch boss. Who would have thought? It's not like he does really questionable weird shit like all the time. That would be absurd. Oh yeah, grab a bobblehead wherever the fuck it is, and we can jump into the night section. Night 2 introduces one new threat, that being Spring Bonnie 2.0, who, of course, I will just be calling Spring Bonnie since that's easier. And Spring Bonnie also isn't too big of an issue, but could easily become a problem if you let him get out of hand. Occasionally, Bonnie will move into what I will call his attack mode. When he enters attack mode, he will make a sound cue and move from camera 6 to camera 8, then to 7, followed by 6, and finally into camera 3. From there, he'll just fucking kill you. While you can't put Bonnie back on stage, you can move him away from you. And how you do so is probably exactly what you expected. Audio lures. Only certain cameras in the building actually have places that can use audio, and thankfully, unlike most games that have audio lures, this one doesn't have a certain amount, and you can spam them as much as you'd like. As you would expect, drag Bonnie around the cameras with this audio lure to prevent him from going cave diving in your ass and mining the rock hard diamond crusty shit trapped between your buns because you don't wipe properly. And he really shouldn't be a problem. Again, you can't get him back on stage, but you can pretty easily keep him in camera 8. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing else new is added on this night, and Bonnie doesn't add too much of an issue in combination with Freddy. However, there is one more thing I want to mention before moving on. At 5 a.m. every night, the AI of all active animatronics will increase. Just a fun way of saying fuck you in the last minute of the night. Amazing. On to the Night 2 post-night minigame, which is nowhere near as frustrating as the first. This time we're fixing Spring Bonnie, and the pattern for completing it is the same. The only difference is the minigame itself on the monitor, and how to deal with Bonnie. Dealing with him is simple. When he attacks, just use the speaker to play music and he'll calm down. Now for the minigame, which I actually really like. A small rectangle will bounce back and forth across the screen. In the center of the screen, you'll see a little bar. As the moving rectangle passes over the bar, you'll have to press space. For each successful press you make, you'll gain 2 to 4% progress at random, and the rectangle will start moving a little faster. If you ever miss a press, you'll only lose 5% power, so clearly they were out of their fucking minds when they designed the first minigame, but who knows. Anyways, one more thing I should mention is that after each minigame, we get a number for a code that we can type into the hand unit during the free roam sections. So yeah, just make sure you're writing those down. Night 3 once again starts with a free roam section, so let's grab that random bobblehead and listen to the audio log.
Okay, it's recording. Quick note for management, since apparently nobody believes me. That little vacuum robot we got from MCM, the Cleanovac, yeah, it's not really helping. Every party, some kid grabs it and shoves it somewhere disgusting. Trash cans, sinks. Today, it was in the toilet. The toilet! I'm the one who fishes it out with gloves, and I'm the one who has to clean it, dry it, fix it. Every single time. It's a vacuum, not a toy. If I find it in the toilet one more time, I'm not saving it. I'm letting it die, and I'm telling William it was water damage. Yeah, that's all. Bye.
In case you guys were interested and couldn't tell, that character was played by me, and the name they gave that character is incredibly clever, being a triple entendre. Love you guys. Anyways, yeah, I find it funny how I talk about how much I hate kids in my videos, and then I get to play a character in a game who yells at kids. Perfect for me. Let's move on to the night section. Night 3 introduces one new threat, that being Monty, who apparently wasn't supposed to be able to move, but yet he does, so fucking awesome. I just love that so much. Monty's pretty easy overall, and he also introduces a new mechanic, that being the curtain directly in front of you, which you are able to hold closed. This will obviously be how you defend yourself from him. When Monty goes into attack mode, he will make a loud sound cue and move into camera 3. Inside of camera 3, he will move through 3 phases like Foxy before moving to your doorway. Something very weird about him is, unlike other characters, where when they move in the cameras briefly flicker to cover up the movement, Monty's movements don't do this, so you just kind of awkwardly watch him snap into place, which just feels really weird. Once Monty jumps in front of your doorway, just hold the curtain closed until he leaves. Henry, who, by the way, is the guy on the phone at the beginning of each night, tells us that we should really be keeping an eye on him once he leaves the stage, which would make me think that, like Foxy, watching him on the cameras will stall him. However, as you'll find out, it actually doesn't do that at all. Monty doesn't make the night a whole lot more stressful quite yet, as when Monty enters your doorway, he makes a really obvious sound cue, so you don't really need to watch him on the cameras at all. The best thing to do at this point is sit on camera 8 to watch for Bonnie, and only ever pull down the monitor when getting attacked by Monty or Fredbear. Both Fredbear and Monty can attack you at the same time, but luckily the devs thought of this and made it not complete RNG aids, because if Fredbear attacks while Monty is at the curtain, then the curtains won't close and you'll be safe to deal with Fredbear. And if Monty arrives during Fredbear's attack, then you can quickly close the curtains and they'll stay closed throughout the attacks. Thank you so much, you two. I could give you a kiss on the mouth for real. Anyways, time to move on to the post-night 3 minigame. And of course, with Monty being introduced, he is who we're fixing on this night. Once again, the only changes are the minigame and how to defend yourself. On the bottom shelf in the room we're in, there will be a mask. And surprise, surprise, that's what you put on when Monty starts dworking in your face. The minigame is honestly really disappointing, as it's just the Funtime Freddy minigame from Sister Location, except a million times less fucking AIDS. Just hold the buttons to increase the percentage until you beat the night. Congrats, this one was boring as fuck. Let's move on to night 4. Free roam time! Grab a bobblehead and let's take a listen.
Hello? Okay, I think it's working. These hand terminals are so buggy. So I just started working here at Fredbear's, first day and all that, and Honestly, it's kinda nice. It's cozy even. Place has that old school charm, you know? It smells like pizza grease and cheap cleaner, but in a weird way it works. Only one tiny issue. Who the hell picked the animatronic names? Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. Like, seriously, that's what we're going with? Why Spring Bonnie and then just Fredbear? Why isn't it Spring Bear? Or Spring Freddy? Or literally anything else that matches? It sounds like two completely different people named them on opposite sides of the room, and nobody bothered to discuss it further. Hey, what should we call the rabbit? Spring Bunny? Cool. And the bear? Fredbear. It makes zero sense. And it bugs me way more than it should. I can't explain why. Every time I say the names out loud, it just sounds like the branding department gave up halfway through. That's about it. See ya.
Honestly, bro, reasonable crash out. Seems like the type of random shit I would complain about for filler in one of these videos. So I appreciate you doing it for me. Oh yeah, and for some reason we get another log on this night too.
Is this thing on? Yeah? Okay, good. I couldn't find a complaint box anywhere, so I figure this is the only way those schmucks at corporate might actually listen. I got hired to handle plumbing and a few other bits of general maintenance around the joint roughly, 5 to 6 months ago. Might I say you people suck at maintaining a building. I can't walk 2 steps in this place without finding a new leak I gotta fix. Leaky pipes, leaky roof, leaky suits. Oh, wait. I'm not supposed to talk about that. Wait, hold on! How come this place is held together with scotch tape and prayers, yet somehow you have enough budget to pay me 16 crap loads to keep my yap shut about what I saw in the back room? You people disgust me, by the way. Oh, I guess I'm not one to talk. I took your blood money, after all. And you ain't getting it back. My money now, suckers! Maybe having all that on the record ain't the smartest idea. How do I delete this? Maybe this button.
So, this is probably my favorite log throughout the entire game. Just so goofy, yet explains some very interesting information. Probably the most important info we've got so far throughout the entire game. I also love the ending of the tape. It's just the right amount of retarded to make me giggle a little bit. Anyways, on to the night section. I sure hope the most enraging character of all time doesn't activate. Spoiler alert, the most enraging character of all time activates. Night 4 introduces a character named Bub. Once Bub moves, he will enter either camera 4 or camera 5. Something about these cameras you'll notice is that you can close vents on these cameras. From what Henry explains in the phone calls, it sounds like Edwin may have specifically designed Bub to crawl into vents for a currently unknown reason. Now, all you have to do for Bub sounds pretty easy. When he attacks, he makes a sound cue in your left or right ear. All you have to do is close the respective vent on that side of the cameras and he won't be able to get to you. Luckily, if you're being attacked by Monty or Fredbear, Bub will not be able to move. Period. These devs had every opportunity to make Bub the most frustrating character from any FNAF game ever, and they didn't do it. And I'm forever grateful for that. I would literally eat the lice out of their hair if they had lice. Now, I said Bub was frustrating, but why is that the case? He doesn't sound too bad. Well, where it comes from is just his sheer speed, as Bub is incredibly fast and will bounce between both vent rooms and crawl into the vents at actual light speed. It's insane how much hops this guy has. It's actually pretty impressive. As long as you're keeping an eye on him, this night isn't too much different. Of course, this brings up the problem of not being able to watch Bonnie, but overall, with enough practice, this night really shouldn't be too bad. On to the post-night minigame, and this one is by far more complex than any other minigame we've seen so far. Doesn't really mean it's hard per se, but there is a lot more focusing you have to do. The way you complete this minigame is another boring hold the button minigame until you reach 100%. However, what you need to do alongside that is where this one gets interesting. When Bub attacks you, all you have to do is shock him, as during this night you actually get the ability to do that. You also get access to an additional monitor this time around that acts kind of like a FNAF 3 repair panel. In it, you have to keep Bub's integrity charged and continuously charge your shock button or else it won't work. The lower Bub's integrity is, the more often he'll attack, and of course the more often he attacks, the less power your shocker is going to have. The best strategy I found was every 10% of progress I made, charge the generator and shocker a little bit. And of course, deal with Bub whenever he decides to have a seizure directly in front of you. But with that, we get another piece of the code and we can move on to Night 5. Of course, Night 5 starts with a free roam section, so let's listen to that audio log.
Hi, I'm John Fazbear. If you're listening to this log, that means that a piece of licensed Fazbear Entertainment art made by you isn't up to our company standard. Don't fret, however. As the lead director of the marketing department here at Fredbear's, my job is to teach and guide you through the process of making promotional material that is suitable for our wonderful customers. Give me a moment. Samantha, where is my coffee, goddammit? I asked you 15 minutes ago! What do I pay you for, woman? Sorry about that. We're gonna have to cut that one out. As I was saying, the purpose of this log series is to help in making your art pieces compliant with our company values. There's my coffee. Thank you so much, Samantha. You truly are the backbone of this company. Sorry, fellas. She's married to Fazbear Entertainment. Where was I? Right. Refusal or failure to comply with our strict company marketing policy will result in job termination, military discharge, legal action, loss of company benefits, impounding of vehicle, loss of hearing, degenerative bone disease, beheading.
Yelling over coffee is crazy, bro. Moving on, there is actually a final audio log from William Afton. However, as you can probably tell, yeah, we're not gonna be able to listen to this one because it's a bit broken. I'd be willing to bet that William did something to the hand unit so that nobody could listen to whatever it is he said. Also, now is the time you'd be able to put in the password you've been piecing together throughout the nights. I have no idea if this code is random per game, but I'd be willing to bet it probably is. After entering in the password, we see blueprints of the Mimic, along with an audio log from Edwin himself. It goes as follows.
Will, hey, the mascots have been fully upgraded. You won't have to worry about wearing those ever again. Unless you really want to, anyway. Henry will bring them in Saturday morning. I don't want to brag, but I think I might have struck gold with this one. I won't say too much just yet, but this could put MCM on the map as the greatest entertainment and carnival technology company in the country. My inventions are going to be everywhere, and you wanted me to sell the factory. Ha! Good one, Will.
Anyways, with that out of the way, we can actually move on to the night section, which this time around doesn't introduce any new threats and is just a much harder version of Night 4. Bub's speed somehow increases even more, having him bolt to your vents about every 10 seconds. I truly think the biggest problem on this night is 100% Bonnie. With how much Bub attacks and how frequently Fredbear and Monty attack, it is very likely Bonnie will slip away from you, so really be on your A game. The most interesting thing about this night is the phone call. We hear Henry talking about creating springlock suits as opposed to buying a bunch of Mimic prototypes, but Edwin apparently had no interest in any of it, so he decided to build it himself and bring it straight to William, and well, we all know how that turned out. Generally, just keep your cool and focus on this night. Honestly, it isn't too terrible in comparison to some of the other Night 5s we've covered on this channel. After completing Night 5 is where this game splits into two endings depending on whether or not you've collected all the bobbleheads in the pre-Night Free Roam sections. If you at any point missed one, you just get this piss-poor cutscene before the game ends.
Hey, Frank. It's me again. I've packed everything up and I'm headed back to the factory now. I'll take a look at your notes and see what we can improve. Let me know when you get the paycheck, all right? Okay, Frank. Talk to you soon.
Now, that's fucking boring. What we care about is the true ending. What happens if we did gather all of the bobbleheads? Well, we get access to Night 6, so let's get going. During the free roam section of Night 5, we have an interesting task, that being to place some mascots on stage. These being a much fatter version of Freddy and a Spring Bonnie that really just kind of looks like Glitch Trap. If you're wondering why we're doing this, it's actually because during this night, we're actually playing as Henry himself, as he did say he needed to head to the pizzeria to put the new mascots on stage. So once we enter the night section, we get this phone call.
Hello?
Hello, Henry. It's William. Listen, I have to check on the new building soon, so I'll be there in a few hours. Please wait for me. I need to talk to you about something important.
With all due respect, sir, I don't think I can wait that long. I was only supposed to take the prototypes and bring in the new mascots. There are other matters at the factory that need my attention.
Well, work always comes first, doesn't it? I respect that. Then I'll get straight to the point, I suppose. I need you to convince Edwin to sell me the factory.
The factory? Sir, I don't think I understand.
Listen, Henry. Murray's will collapse within a few years if someone doesn't step in. Edwin may be a brilliant creator, but he isn't meant to run a business. I am. Under my leadership, the company wouldn't just survive. It would flourish. More contracts, more reliable employees, and more time for him to focus on his creations. However, if I were to speak to Edwin myself, he'd decline my offer immediately. You know him. He's stubborn. Stubborn just like his old man. He believes he can handle everything, but he's only dragging the company further down. Help me save the factory, Henry. The workers need their jobs. The world needs innovation. But that will only happen if I'm in charge.
I don't think that's possible, sir. It's all he has left of his father. I don't believe he'd give it up so easily. Not to mention Fiona.
I can handle Fiona. Reaching Edwin is the difficult part. But I have faith in you, Henry. You're more capable than you realize. I've seen your dedication. I've seen your abilities. You're meant for more than what MCM is offering you. Do this for me, and the management position of the franchise location is yours.
Sir,
Think about it, Henry.
And with that crazy call, Night 6 begins, acting as this game's boss fight night. Except this time there's 2 bosses instead of only 1. Each character takes the role of 2 of the previous animatronics we've seen, so let's start by talking about the least interesting of the 2, Freddy. Freddy takes the place of Fredbear and Monty. Pretty simple to understand. He can pick either of their attacks at random and then just do them. Nothing very interesting to mention here except for the fact that he's fat as holy hell. Spring Bonnie is where this night gets a bit interesting. So I said both characters take the roles of 2 of the previous characters, but I fucking lied. He only takes the role of Bub. However, he does change how Bub's attack works. During this night, for some reason, you lose access to the ability of closing your right vent. Instead, that Freddy mask that you've seen on your desk this entire game is finally going to be put to use. If you hear Spring Bonnie attack the left vent, same as Bub, just close the vent. However, if he attacks the right side, you will have to quickly put your mask on. And I mean, like, really fast. It is fucking crazy how fast this rabbit is. Now here's the crazy part. Both Freddy and Spring Bonnie can attack you at the same time. So I recommend that every time you pull your camera down, you put your mask on, since you can deal with Freddy while it's on, and if Spring Bonnie decides to attack at the same time, you're screwed. And really, the only camera you need to be watching throughout this night is the left vent camera to be checking for Spring Bonnie, because even though he makes a sound cue like Bub, he is way fucking faster. But if you can keep yourself on your toes all night, you'll complete Night 6 and get this final cutscene. So, the true ending shows the aftermath and how William Afton completely took over the industry, killing Fiona in a fire during Fall Fest and taking over Edwin's company with him mysteriously going missing. At the end of the day, William got what he wanted. But of course, we all know what happens next in the fallout of Henry and Afton, but that's a story for another day. But with that, that is all Five Nights at Freddy's The Flip Side has to offer. And holy shit, did I love it. Overall, I think The Flip Side is an amazing take on the FNAF lore and does an amazing job connecting some of the dots from the main game. The game looks super cool, the animations are incredible, and the gameplay loop is just the right amount of challenging to both not be mind-numbing and not be ass-hair-rippingly difficult. And I would totally recommend it. Oh yeah, and I voice acted in it, so bonus points there. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually just completely mid? Let me know in the comments below. In my Freddy and the Gang video, I asked you guys what series or game you'd like to see me recover and why. And my favorite answer was everybody who said the Wario's series. Trust me, a big Wario's video is on the way. It's just going to take me a very long time to write. What do you think is the most overused and bloated genre in the FNAF community? I know that might seem like a weird question, but in recent years, I really think I've come up with a really good answer to it. Just something that you see in FNAF games that has become sickening to see. Maybe you think the ransomware trend has run its course and needs a break for a while. Maybe you think boss fight nights have been done to death and we need something new. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Well, for me personally, I think every other FNAF game being about Fredbear has been done so much and I just really need a break. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed from me bringing this up, that is the type of game we'll be talking about today. And no, unfortunately for you, it isn't Fredbear game number 998433, so if you were hoping for that today, I apologize. But stick around because I think you'll really like this one too. Maybe. The game we'll be talking about today is called Welcome to Fredbear's, and I'm willing to bet that even if you've seen this game before, you might not know which one it is just from me talking about it, since all of the titles of the Fredbear's games are pretty much exactly the same. I would explain what the game is about, but that's what the entire video is, so just strap in, try the Big Mac meal for the first time, and let's get right into Welcome to Fredbear's. Welcome to Fredbear's starts with an opening cutscene. In this game, we actually play as William, which I think is pretty cool. We get a call from an unknown number, and the man on the other end explains that he works at a storage facility in Utah. I personally didn't even know anybody actually lived in Utah. I thought that was just like some fairy tale place, but hey, I guess you learn something new every day.
Hello?
Hello?
Am I speaking to William Afton?
Yes, and you are?
I'm calling you on behalf of the storage and rental of Utah. Unfortunately, we have gone out of business, and we're accordingly emptying out all of our storage units, except for yours due to the excessive amount of items in your units. So please come to the storage facility at your earliest convenience or you will be fined. If possible, tonight.
With that, William wastes no time and pulls right up to the storage facility like I pull up to Shotty's house after she had 3 bean burritos from Taco Bell. Jesus Christ. Dude, we're just getting started. What is wrong with me? After entering the building, we go to find our storage unit, only to see a sticky note on the door explaining that the key to our unit is on the desk in the main room, just making me waste my fucking time walking all the way back to the front desk to pick it up, only for us to then have to walk all the way back. Personally, I'm loving the direction this game is going already, aren't you? By the way, during this opening section, we have a to-do list to guide us along the way of what we're supposed to do. And I personally like to imagine that William is writing these notes to himself so that he knows what he has to do. And I think it's really funny that he's writing basic shit like find a unit, open the unit, like he's retarded and won't be able to remember basic things. Anyways, moving on. With that, we open our storage unit and step inside, only to realize that this just might be the largest storage unit to ever grace the face of the planet, because holy shit, this thing is gigantic. I happen to own a few storage units myself, and not a single one is even close to being this big, but that's really besides the point. Obviously, the real reason we're here is to move all of our belongings out of the unit, which I find odd because we only came here in our tiny little dinky car, knowing full well we have a storage unit full of shit to clear out. I guess we just really want to be moving for the next month straight. And now, would you believe me if I told you that even knowing we have to start moving things out, we don't start moving things out? I know. Hard to believe that we would come to this building and not do the one fucking thing we were tasked with doing. So you might be wondering, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then what are we doing? Oh shit! Oh shit! Motherfucker old as shit! Look at the motherfucking glasses on that bitch! Dang, a fat motherfucker right here got a big old pot belly on that big boy. Fuck. Well, the answer to that question is simple. All we have to do is walk around the unit and look at sticky notes. As you can see, we have several animatronics around the area, and each is labeled with a sticky note. It seems like these variations of the characters are very early versions of the final designs, which would make sense since most of the Fredbear's games do take place a long time ago. Every time we pick up a sticky note, a page is added to our notebook where we're tricked into thinking that we're going to be learning something interesting about the characters, when in reality, that's not true, and we actually just learn how we're going to have to deal with each of these characters once we finally get into the night sections. Speaking of, when does that actually happen? Fantastic question, viewer of questionable age. I'm rewriting that line. That sounds awful. Fantastic question, viewer who probably isn't actually viewing the video, but is instead listening to it in the background. Let me tell you exactly what happens next. After we look at the last sticky note, we hear an alarm go off. Stepping out of our unit for a moment, we see that the door to the hallway we're in has been closed. Looking around, we see nothing weird, and then somehow fucking Circus Baby appears right next to us. Oh my fucking cry ass, bitch! The fuck was that, ho? Who the hell was that? What the fuck baby bitch doing in here? Tall as fuck, tall glass of water looking ass. No, seriously, where the fuck did she come from? We look in both directions and see nothing, and then somehow she's right next to us. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Anyways, we have to do a short QuickTime event to get away from baby and then run to the security office. Now pause. Why the fuck do we have a security office inside of our storage unit? It's not like the security office is to the entire building. No, it's actually specifically inside of our unit. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Oh yeah, it doesn't. After making our way into the office, we see Baby walk up to the window where we learn the first mechanic of this game. Throughout the night, Baby will approach our window. When she does, all we have to do is shut the power to the office off so that she can't see us, and eventually she'll leave. She will do this several times. It's also just scripted here at this moment. Throughout the game, we'll be able to pull out our notebook and read about the animatronics we took notes on, which will soon be attacking us. Something I chose not to do during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. I instead chose to trial and error things for minutes on end because I forgot that I could look at this notebook. It's also in this notebook where we can see William live writing his thoughts instead of defending himself. This game is split into hours rather than nights, and on the first hour, he writes this.
Building power. It seems like the power in the building is out, except for this security office. The computer seems to be working. I can probably use it to get the power in the building up and running again. Until then, I'll just have to survive.
And with that, we're thrown into the first hour of the game, and this video can finally start sounding like all of my other videos. To start, let's go over the office and the tools at our disposal. During the free roam section, we picked up a flashlight, and we still have that now. We can flash this light, which is exactly how a flashlight works, so I don't know why I told you that. To our left, we have the door to this tiny room. It can be toggled and thankfully has no power system. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. And finally, to our right, we have the second threat this game introduces, which I guess I'll talk about right now since he's literally right in our office. This is Fredbear. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't Fredbear one of the characters that we saw out in the storage area? And you would be right in saying that. However, this is also Fredbear. It's just another one because why make a new character when we could just fucking not, right? Yay, creativity! Throughout the night, Fredbear will try to get up and attack you. Dealing with him is incredibly easy. All you have to do is occasionally hold your flashlight on him and he'll sit his fat happy ass back down. Your flashlight also has no power, so you'll be happy to hear you don't really ever have to worry about that. Finally, the last thing to talk about is the way the night progresses. Even though we have a clock on our desk, that is very misleading as this game is not completed based on time, but is instead a task-based completion game, which you know what that means. No actual task, and it's just waiting with extra steps. Also on our desk is a computer. Turning on the computer will show two things that we have to reboot: the ventilation and the power. When you click on them, they will slowly start to reboot, and once both of them are rebooted, then the hour will be over. Very boring, but sure, whatever, I guess. Something I want to mention about Baby, since it actually makes sense to mention it now, is what happens when you turn the power off to deal with her. Well, that's very simple. Not only does your door open if it was closed, but of course your computer will turn off as well, and progress to rebooting will be paused. Now, that's not a problem at all, but what is a problem is the embarrassing amount of times I forgot to turn the computer back on, leading to the night taking way fucking longer than it ever needed to. So, even though Baby did follow us to the room this night, she surprisingly isn't actually active at this point in time. Who is active, however, is Fredbear. No, not the Fredbear in our office. Well, yes, he is active too. I'm talking about the other Fredbear, the one that we saw a bit earlier. In hour 1, we're attacked by 2 Fredbears at the same time. Talk about the worst double penetration of your life. This is a train you never want to ride on. Fredbear 2, as I will be calling him from now on, will be present outside of your door. Slowly throughout the hour, he will creep closer and closer to your office, like Jared Fogle used to creep closer to playgrounds in broad daylight. All you have to do is literally the exact same thing as the Fredbear in our office. Occasionally flash your light through the doorway to scare him away. So as long as you're doing that semi-frequently, you'll be fine. And you'll be doing it a lot because this is what the gameplay looks like all the time.
All I know is DDF, AAF, DDF, AAF. That's all I know.
But yeah, that's all this first hour has to offer, except you'll be excited to hear that this game actually has some post-night minigames that are just as mind-numbing as the actual nights. Aren't you just so fucking excited? I know I am. After the reboot is up, obviously the power goes out since it's all rebooting. During this time, we need to turn around and replace 3 fuses in the generator so that the reboot can be completed. Doing this is very easy, but very time-consuming. You will have to very slowly unscrew 6 different screws to get the fuses out. Each screw will take about 30 fucking seconds to undo, so be prepared to be here for the next 8 years. I'm not very good at math. After all of the screws are out, you have to remove the 3 fuses, grab 3 more from a box on your right, and replace them, then re-screw the goddamn screws. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Of course, it's not just that easy. Everybody knew it wasn't going to be that easy. During this minigame, you're armed with a lighter. What happened to your flashlight? I literally have no idea. It's not tied to power, so I don't see why we couldn't use it, aside from the fact that the dev thought using a lighter during this section would just be more creepy. Who really knows? Both Fredbear and Bonnie will be coming for your cheeks during this section. However, you'll notice that it's really only ever Fredbear that's a problem, and you'll understand why once I explain how they work. You will have to listen very closely since they both are pretty quiet. Fredbear will attack from your left and Bonnie will attack from your right. When you hear Fredbear moving, all you have to do is turn left and hold your lighter in his face until he sits back down. Something about this lighter though is that it doesn't always light up properly on the first go. So you'll have to flick it quite a few times, which I will admit is pretty nerve-wracking and is pretty fucking cool. I'll explain Bonnie a bit later since the chances of him attacking you during this section are pretty much 0. So for now, let's finish up the fuses and reboot the power and start on the next hour. Something I do actually like about this game is how it really feels like it's one constant night throughout. After you finish the fuse, you turn back around and the next hour continues right there. It's just a simple detail, but a lot of the time it's the simple details I like the most. This hour does introduce someone new, who is really just a copycat of a character we've talked about already. You know, recently, as I've been looking for games, I've been going back on older games I've played on Dxtr Black and wondering why I've never made videos about them. Now that I've finally been starting to do that, it's pretty obvious to me why I haven't. A lot of the FNAF games I've played really just don't have a lot to talk about, and I don't want my videos to be under 20 minutes. That's why a lot of the time in these newer Dxtr White videos, you'll hear me go on retarded tangents more often. I don't want you guys to have a 10-minute video to watch. Anyways, moving on. The new character introduced on this night is Bonnie. Hey, awesome, we were just talking about you. Now, technically, this character is Spring Bonnie. However, the sticky note calls him Bonnie, so I'm going to be calling him Bonnie too, since that takes a lot less time to type. And I have a pounding migraine right now. I want to get this script writing section of the video's pipeline done as fast as I possibly can. Bonnie is pretty much just Baby, and by pretty much, I mean he literally is. Bonnie will occasionally walk up to the window in front of you. When he does, all you have to do is turn the power off until you hear him knock on the glass, and then a few seconds later, you'll be able to turn the power back on again. And for the love of fuck, do not forget to turn your computer back on like I did.
Oh shit. I wonder how many more times I'm gonna forget to turn that thing on and just absolutely just fucking ream myself.
Anyways, now we can move on to talking about the post-hour minigame. Hooray! You may be wondering what there even is to talk about here, since it's going to be the same thing every single time. And that's a very good question. But worry not, I have an answer for you. On this hour is when Bonnie will finally be here in this reboot section. However, he's also joined by the other Fredbear. Fredbear 2 works the exact same as Fredbear 1, except he attacks the opposite side. Same shit, different day with him. Just turn your lighter on and he'll go away. Bonnie, however, is a bit different and is literally completely useless as a character during this section. He will only ever attack your right side, and he has a different sound cue that plays from Fredbear 2. The difference between the sound cues is incredibly noticeable, so you will literally never mess them up and confuse the two. When Bonnie attacks, all you have to do is not turn the lighter on, so you can literally just fucking ignore him. It's not even like you can't move. No, you can move as much as you want. You can even keep unscrewing and he won't bother you. So like, what is even the point of having him there? I have no idea. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to the next office hour. Hour 3 is quite literally the exact same as Hour 2. No new threats are introduced. Everyone is just a little bit more aggressive. That is, except for Bonnie, who is a fuck ton more aggressive. So much so that you may have him attack pretty much the moment you turn the power back on. He means business and he's not messing around. And of course, when you're like me and forget to turn the computer back on, with how much he attacks, this hour will slow to a fucking crawl. It's completely brutal and one of the most painful experiences I've ever been through, and I've been mauled by a dog and hit by a car, so that's saying a lot. I really just feel like there could have been so much more done with this game. Truly, they had a pretty interesting free roam section at the beginning of this game, and they just don't use it anymore. This gameplay loop of turning back and forth is the rest of the game. I think it could be really interesting if, let's say, for example, after completing an hour, the batteries to our flashlight died, and we had to exit the security office and walk around the darkness looking for new batteries while the animatronics patrolled around and we only had our lighter. I know I personally hate stuff like that, but really anything would be an improvement from how boring this game really feels. And like, not even introducing a new character each hour makes it even worse. It's so boring. Like, I just saw Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie. Why are you only giving me them again? Add something new. Even if it's not a new character, add a new mechanic. Make the task you have to complete each night something different, not just a fucking waiting simulator. Make one of the tasks be a minigame where you have to move through a maze or something, like the Tron game you have to play when you're doing heists in GTA Online. That'd be so fucking cool. But no, instead we're given barnacle dick, bottom of the barrel ChatGPT ass ideas. Actually, that's not even true. I bet ChatGPT could think of a somewhat different way to spice up the gameplay a little bit. This game looks really good and the voice acting we've heard is amazing. It's just really disappointing that the actual gameplay of the game isn't interesting at all. Anyways, of course, after completing the task, we turn around and do the exact same fuse box task again, which by the way, I will mention is very odd. Why are we having to replace the fuses every hour? This seems very counterintuitive. William has to be spending upwards of $12,000 on fuses monthly to keep this shit lit up. And we know he is because when we first entered the unit, the lights were on. And from the phone call, it sounds like he hasn't been there in a while. So like, what the actual fuck is going on? So much of this game just doesn't make any sense. But whatever, let's just move on to the next hour where hopefully something new is introduced. Hour 4 or 3 a.m. once again, and I'm not kidding, literally introduces nothing new again. Once more, it's just Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie, except they're more aggressive than before. But spoiler alert, there's so little to do during this game that even if their AI is increasing, you really won't be able to tell since it's not any harder. Flash, turn, turn, flash, turn, turn, flash, repeat. If you ever hear Bonnie, shut the power off. When that is the gameplay loop, it really doesn't fucking matter how fast you make the characters, since the only difference you'll actually notice is that each night turns into a fucking slog because you have to turn the power off for way longer, meaning that your tasks aren't being finished, which doesn't make the game more challenging, it just makes the game way more uninteresting. If you haven't noticed, we're halfway through this game and we haven't had to close close the door a single time. During my playthrough, I was choosing to, but there's literally no character throughout the game so far that would make you close this stupid door. I'm honestly confused why we can't have it closed the whole time. Sure, Fredbear 2 will kill us, but I wonder how that's even possible. If we have a robot that's able to open the only door defending us, I think we have a much bigger issue on our hands, in all honesty. Since I literally have nothing to talk about right now, I guess I could bring up what happens if you don't turn the lights off for Bonnie, since I'm just now noticing I didn't do that. If you don't turn the power off, he'll punch a hole in your window like he's Plank from Five Nights at Candy's. That's about it. But guys, come on, can you tell I've really got nothing to work with in this game? And of course, the post-night minigame is nothing different at all. Fuck trying something new and exciting, right? The entire FNAF community are all retards and they'll just eat up anything you put in front of them. And that pisses me off because it worked on me. I beat the fucking game even though I thought it was boring. Maybe I'm the problem. I have no idea. I want to keep yapping about stuff since I can tell this script really isn't going to be much longer if this game keeps going in the direction it's going in, but I've really got nothing else to talk about here, so let's just move on to Hour 5. Hour 5, thankfully, does actually give me something else to talk about. Two new things, actually. Don't know why you couldn't have just split them up so that the last night wasn't so fucking useless, but oh well, I suppose. This night reintroduces Baby, so let's get to talking about her since her mechanic has changed just slightly. Same thing as before. She'll walk up to your window on occasion just like Bonnie, and all you have to do is turn the power off. But then she'll walk to the left. This signals that she's about to attack your door, so you'll need to close it. Now you might be thinking, how are you going to be able to turn the power back on and close the door by the time Baby is able to get over to it? Well, come on in real close because that's a really good question. And luckily I do have an answer. You're just not really gonna like it. You can actually close the door while the power is out. Yes, I'm serious. I lied before. There's just so many goddamn problems here. I don't even know where to start. What do you mean the door can close while there's no power? It's a mechanical door. It needs power. What is this bullshit? Name one other FNAF game with a closable mechanical door that can be closed while there's no power. I'll wait. Oh yeah, it fucking isn't any because that's stupid and doesn't make any fucking sense, now does it? That means that the only thing the power controls is the light to the room we're in. No, not the flashlight, the room light and the computer. That's literally it. What do we even need to reboot anything for? This seems completely pointless now. I could probably talk all day about this, and while I would love to pad out for runtime, I also don't want to piss you guys off, so let's just move on. The final threat introduced on this night is Foxy, who is probably the most useless character in this entire game. And I know that may come to you as a surprise, because every character in this game seems pretty useless. Foxy attacks via the door. And I bet from myself saying that you can already guess exactly how he works and exactly why he's so useless. But in case you aren't able to put those pieces together by yourself, allow me to assist you. Occasionally, Foxy will sprint at your door and you'll have to close it to stop him from eating your butt. However, since the door has no limit to how long it can be closed for and it doesn't open when your power is off, you will probably never see Foxy throughout your entire playthrough. Just occasionally hear him slam on the door. This may make you wonder what I was talking about earlier where I said I was going to abuse this game's kindness. Editor, run it back. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. This is that point. Since you still need to have the door open to be able to check on Fredbear 2, you can't literally have it closed the entire night. And I get the funny feeling that with this in mind, the dev thought the possible problem of closing it the entire night would be solved. But guess what, fucker? You couldn't be more wrong. All you have to do is open the door, quickly flash in less than a second to reset Fredbear. Since, contrary to what I've seen other people do in their playthroughs, you don't actually have to hold the flashlight on him until he leaves. You just have to hit him with it for longer than one frame. Then all you have to do is immediately close the door again. And if you get good enough at doing this, even if Foxy just so happens to be running at your door in the exact moment you open it, it won't be open for nearly long enough for him to enter the office. So he is quite literally a useless character. Awesome. So even though 2 threats were introduced on this night, it's basically like no threats were introduced at all. I love my life. Speaking of useless, we have the next post-night minigame to talk about. And this time around, it actually does do something a little bit different than the previous ones. Just kidding, I fucking lied like normal. It's just as boring and repetitive as the other post-night minigames we've mentioned. So let's stop wasting our time and just move on to Hour 6. Hour 6, surprisingly, once again introduces something new to the mix, and I'm actually not lying this time. However, with them introducing a new character on this night, it actually means that each hour could have had one thing introduced each, and this game just chose not to do that, which will forever be mind-boggling to me. This new character is Freddy, I think. I have no idea what the fuck it is. When you guys see it, you will have to comment down below on who you think this is supposed to be, because I really can't tell. This new threat, who I'll call Freddy, is another window attacker, since we've already established that the door is useless. When he approaches your window, he makes it clear that he has night vision, since turning off the power will not be enough to stop him. What you'll have to do instead is actually a lot less annoying, but hey, at least it's something new. Once he approaches, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on his face until he leaves. This could have been a good opportunity to turn him into a sort of Candy's 3 fight where he moves his head around and you'll have to follow it, but unfortunately that did not happen and he's just stationary. But again, at least it's something new that actually makes me have to do something else. And from what I could tell during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, he doesn't make any sound cues when he reaches your window, giving you an actual reason to flash the window consistently, because up until this point, you didn't have to, and for some reason, you can't even really see him in the window. While I am happy that this game has started to pick up on things to talk about, I do wish they were a bit more interesting so I could talk about them a little bit longer without repeating myself. But sometimes I just can't be that lucky. So once we repair this shit one last time, there's only one more thing to do. And no, it's not another repair post-night minigame, thankfully. Instead, it's just listening to a cutscene that, in all honesty, is pretty cool. So I'll just let you guys sit back and take a look.
Hello, William. It's me. You still recognize me, don't you? Well, you should, I suppose. After all, it was you who left me like this. Why didn't you do anything? Scared of getting the blame? Now standing here, 17 years later, all the blame falls on you. 17 years, William. You left me here for 17 years. Soaking in my own blood. Rotting in our creation. Praying you would return. Now you're here. You've endured what I couldn't. And now you have to live with it. Our legacy.
And there we go. An unknown person walks up to us in a Springlock suit. I can only assume this person is supposed to be Henry, since he refers to the suit he's in as our creation and we play as William. But I actually think this is a really interesting twist on the original story. Instead of William dying in the Springlock suit, Henry did, and William just hid his corpse away in a storage unit for 17 years, which is an insanely long time to be conscious and unable to do anything. So I can totally see Henry's frustration here. However, of course, you guys know me, I always find a way to complain about something, and I found something that doesn't make sense during this cutscene to point out. Do you want to tell me how the hell that text was appearing on the screen? How was Henry able to set that up? Did he program that into the monitor and then rehearse the actions he does at the window for 17 years just waiting for William to arrive? That's really the only thing I could think of that would make this make any sense at all. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But with that, that's all Welcome to Fredbear's has to offer. What it really has to do with Fredbear, aside from the fact that there are 2 Fredbears in it, I really don't know. I feel like this game could have done a lot better with a better name, but what do I know? Overall, I think Welcome to Fredbear's looks wonderful and has some nasty and awesome character designs. However, the gameplay loop is just so unfulfilling, boring, and headache-inducing from all of the whiplash that I really just couldn't enjoy it fully. And while I do think that the final cutscene is pretty cool, and I like the way this game changed the original story, I don't quite think that's enough to warrant me recommending this game to people who are looking for an interesting FNAF experience. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this is actually one of the the coolest FNAF games of all time? Let me know in the comments below. In my Jackie's Forest video, I asked you guys what your favorite hidden gem FNAF game was and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Fish and Chips 123. They said Five Nights at Homer's, and that's a game I don't hear about all too often. I fully intend on covering it at some point in the future. However, I also know that it's incredibly difficult, and that's why I haven't done it quite yet. The original FNAF lore. Arguably one of the most confusing and frustrating pieces of media ever created, with several retcons, horrendous retellings, frustrating timeline and universe splits, and so many other headaches. Five Nights at Freddy's definitely has a reputation for pretty terrible storytelling, but that's where fan-made remix can come into play. Today, we'll be covering a game called Five Nights at Freddy's Rewritten 87, a remake of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is undoubtedly the FNAF game that started the trend of, let's just make the lore of our game as confusing as possible. FNAF Rewritten serves to retell the same story that FNAF 2 did, but in a more concise and enjoyable way, while also making the core gameplay loop of the game better than the original dumpster fire that was FNAF 2 and its gameplay loop. I hope you're excited, because we've got a lot to talk about today. So grab a pet, grab some snacks, and join me today as we dive into the creatively amazing world of FNAF Rewritten 87. FNAF Rewritten 87 opens with a playable cutscene. We see Spring Bonnie standing in front of us. He calls us Gabriel, the child in the Freddy suit, and tells us to follow him. As we walk through the opening credits, we stumble upon a door. We, very creepily, I will add, see Spring Bonnie open the door, only to see Freddy sitting on the table. Oh my god. Walking inside, we get snatched up and stuffed inside of the suit. Who could have seen that one coming? Upon waking up, surprisingly not dead, or actually, who knows, maybe we are actually dead and we're just seeing through our soul at this point, we watch as Freddy and the other characters perform on stage, knowing that there is at least one dead child in one of them. However, I think we can infer that there are probably children inside of Bonnie and Chica as well. We learn about the restaurant shutting down and being bought by a bigger company, only for the whole franchise to be remodeled with safety in mind. Afterwards, we're dropped straight into night one. However, it doesn't begin in the way that most FNAF games begin. This time around, we actually start in a 3D environment, being able to walk around and explore the building to our heart's desires. Except that's a fucking lie because we can't go where Mangle and the puppet are. What? Oh my fucking god. And we can't go into the back rooms. Curiously enough, the only two places I really wanted to go, so that was a bit of a bummer. Hearing the phone ringing, we walk into the back office and really begin the night. Phone guy gives us the typical boring speech nobody really cares about. Let's start talking about what the game changes from the original. I'm sure you could already guess, but this game's building is set up a lot differently than the original. To start, let's talk about the kitchen. The kitchen replaces one of the party rooms from the original, and actually there are plenty of employees-only areas throughout the building that connect various areas. For example, using employee-only hallways, you can walk from the kitchen to the back room, which, yes, you still cannot enter from this angle either. I know, disappointing. These new locations aren't necessarily important per se, but I do think that they're a very nice touch and serve to make this game feel reminiscent of FNAF 2 without just being a direct copy of it, and I like that. The tools at our disposal, however, are exactly the same. Flashlight, cameras, Freddy mask. However, the flashlight does work a bit differently from the original, but I'll explain that more once we start talking about a certain fat bastard. So, who are the threats introduced on this night? Well, to start, of course, we have Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica, and Toy Freddy. Okay, so this game definitely lays a lot on you. Not that that's a bad thing. If anything, it's a good thing because it gives me more to talk and complain about in this video and gives you guys a longer video because of that. Let's start with Toy Bonnie, the worst character to ever walk the face of the earth. Toy Bonnie does exactly what he does in the original. He'll make his way through the building and into your right vent. Where do you think you're going? Oh my fucking god, dude. Once you see him in your office, put the Freddy mask on, and you'll get to watch him crip walk into your office. The animations in this game, by the way, are really awesome, so get used to it. Toy Chica, while being the hottest character I've ever seen in my life, is pretty much the same as she is in the original. She struts around, my jaw drops like a cartoon character, and my eyes pop out whenever I see her, and my tongue comically falls to the floor, and she makes her way to your left vent. Oh my God, come here, bro. However, before she does, you can see her in the hallway and literally watch her fent walk into the party room. Seriously, look at the way she initially bends backwards to start walking. That's disgusting. Anyways, once you see her in your vent, put the Freddy mask on. However, unlike the original where she just disappears, much like FNAF 2 Reimagined, Chica does actually come out of the vent like Toy Bonnie and stares into your eyes for a bit. While most people would just wait for her to leave, I actually toss around the thought of taking the mask off and allowing her to start digging in me. I could talk about my attraction to Toy Chica for days on end, but let's move on to talking about the final threat this night introduces, Toy Freddy. The fat ass, whale ass, elephant ass, hippopotamus ass, dump truck ass, island in the ocean ass, massive ass, gargantuan ass, obese ass, folds on folds ass, looking fat ass, fucking fat ass robot. Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy, while morbidly obese, if you weren't aware, is actually the first character in this game to do something completely different from the original, which I actually think is really great. A problem I have with FNAF 2 is the amount of characters that all do the same thing. While you could argue that Withered Freddy is supposed to be the main character for FNAF 2, given the fact his face is on the icon, I actually think Toy Freddy is a better fit for the main character, just given the environment the game takes place in and the overall theming of the game. And to have your main character do something as boring as Toy Freddy does, aka just walk through the hall and appear in your office, it just feels so boring and lazy. Toy Freddy in this game is actually just an asshole. If you look on your camera map, you will see 4 cameras that have a thick green ring around them. These cameras each have a breaker box inside of them. Occasionally, Toy Freddy will laugh, signifying that he's about to do something devious like putting his hand in the cookie jar, only to find out that it's empty because his sausage finger ass already put his hand in the cookie jar 36 other times today. When you hear him laugh, he'll appear next to any one of these 4 breaker boxes. You'll have to quickly find which one he appeared at and flash your camera light at him and he'll go away. He's afraid of the light, which would make sense given his build. I'm willing to bet he's the type of guy to sit in the dark at his computer all day playing a World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Valorant, or something really niche like EverQuest. So light being his weakness makes total sense. Also, we know this fat ass plays games all day and does nothing else because playing a video game is literally his mechanic in Ultimate Custom Night. This is canon, guys. He's a fat piece of shit. Scott confirmed it. He actually called me last week to tell me, quote, "Hey yo dog, Toy Freddy is a fat piece of shit, you feel me?" And I was like, fuck yeah dog, I feel you. Anyways, moving on to the last thing I want to talk about before we move on to night 2, the way the camera in this office controls. There's no other real way to describe it except fucking awful. It just feels really bad and awkward to control. It lags behind your mouse, which I'm pretty sure was intentional, but it just feels off. I was trying to click Toy Freddy's nose in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, and I just literally couldn't get the camera to stop freaking the fuck out while I was trying to do so. On top of that, there's this weird stutter it has when you go near the vents. You'll go to click on a vent to shine your light at it, but before you can, for no reason, the camera will just stutter and move even more, even if your mouse isn't moving. It's goofy. I know I nitpick a lot in these videos, but I think controls are something that should be nitpicked. That needs to be nailed. Remember how I said that was the last thing I wanted to talk about before moving on to night 2? Well, I lied. There's actually 2 more things I want to mention. First, I forgot to say the music box is still a thing. I'm not gonna harp on it too much. You guys know how I feel about music boxes. AIDS, poop, and balls. There. The other thing I want to mention is what happens after you beat night 1. You'll get tossed back into the POV of Gabriel standing on stage as Bonnie and Chica perform around you. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Eventually, they stop performing and just stare at you, which is very uncomfortable, especially Chica. Chica's model in this game is like really fucking gross and uncomfortable to look at, so I didn't like that too much. It looks like she doesn't brush her teeth for a living. Eventually, the puppet appears in front of us, the curtains close, and we're booted into night 2. Night 2 starts by allowing you to walk around the building yet again. However, this time we're actually allowed to go inside the arcade room. And of course, if you couldn't take a guess, there is an arcade machine that we're able to play. In this minigame, we play as a fucking drill car, which is pretty riz. We have to drive around and pop several balloons across the map. After we're done, an exit door will appear and we can end the minigame. However, if you know anything about FNAF minigames, then you'd know there has to be a secret in here somewhere. And a secret there is. After collecting all the balloons, if instead of going into the exit door you continue, you'll find a glitched wall. Driving into it will put you into a normal car. After a bit of driving, we stumble across one of the pizzerias with a crying child outside. Getting out of the car, you'll notice we're playing as Afton. We walk up to the child and presumably murder it, only for the puppet to appear in the reflection of the game, telling us that if we go deeper, it will stop us. Whatever that means. With that, another exit door appears and we're free to leave and continue the night as usual. After that, there's nothing more to do than walk into the office and talk about what new threats this night introduces. And the first threat we'll talk about is Withered Foxy. Nothing much interesting to say about this guy. He works in the exact same way as the original. He'll appear in your hallway every now and then, and all you have to do is flash him a bunch and he'll go away. One thing I do want to mention about him and why I actually like him in this game more than the original is because you flash him with your mouse, which means my poor little control key won't fucking explode. And actually, because you have to use your mouse to flash Foxy, you can actually spam the hallway a lot faster and make him leave sooner. So that's pretty great. The other threat introduced on this night is Mangle, who is probably the most interesting character we've seen so far and is probably the most interesting character in the entire game. Mangle's goal is to get into your office through the main hallway. She doesn't enter the right vent like in the original. Mangle is a very stressful character to deal with. Let me explain why. Once Mangle enters your office, she'll go to your ceiling, but this does not mean she's attacking you yet. While she's on your ceiling, very loud gurgling sounds will be heard, and the TV monitors in your office will start flashing static, Mangle, and the puppet, interestingly enough. After a bit of this, Mangle will drop her head down from the ceiling. At this time, you must put your mask on. Mangle will stay with her head down for a very long time, like much longer than you think she would. Eventually, she'll pull her head back up, but the attack isn't over quite yet. The screens will start to go all nutty again, and during this time, you're allowed to check on things you need to check on, like the music box, Toy Freddy, and Withered Foxy. Soon after, Mangle will drop her head down a second time, requiring you to put the mask on again. After she leaves for the second time, she will finally leave your office, and her attack is finally over. Mangle is easily one of, if not the most stressful character to deal with in this entire game. And one of the main reasons I feel this way is because of her synergy with Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy makes a laughing sound cue when he's about to fuck you with your fuse box. Mangle is so goddamn cock-sucking loud that she will most likely drown out his laugh unless you're paying incredibly close attention.
So I'm not gonna die just because she's in here. That was Toy Freddy. She synergizes with Toy Freddy. She's loud as shit and drowns him out.
But overall, if you can learn her timings, you should be just fine. And in all honesty, from what I noticed, she is pretty forgiving with how much time she gives you to put the mask on after she drops her head. Night 3 time already? Why hello. What goes on tonight? Well, the night starts just like night 2. We can take a walk through the arcade and play another game, except this time around the game in question is fucking dog shit and I didn't beat it because it's bullshit. In it, you play as Bonnie collecting balloons. Who cares about that part? At a certain distance into the sky, you'll see the ceiling is glitching. Jumping into it will turn you into Spring Bonnie and the game gets all dark. Ooh, scary. In this section of the game, you need to grab the 5 kids and put them into what I'm going to assume is the back room where they were killed. You have to do it one at a time, which really just makes my dick hurt, but whatever. Every time you collect a child, shadow Bonnies will appear around the map for you to dodge. If you touch them, the floor will disappear and you'll have to climb back up. After you collect 4 kids, however, is when this game gets bullshit. Another shadow Bonnie will spawn. However, this one looks way fucking creepier and will actually follow you. The funny part? Well, this shadow Bonnie is faster than you in every way and will literally camp your body, making it borderline impossible to make any progress. Seriously, look at what's happening on screen right now and tell me if this looks like any fun at all. Spoiler alert, it's not. I gave up because I was on the verge of sticking a pencil down my urethra and snapping it in half. However, Once you deliver the last kid, an exit door will appear, finishing out the minigame. Afterwards, all you have to do is walk to the office and the night section can begin. Phone Guy talks about how the police may have a lead on a missing children's incident. Who cares? I'm glad they're dead. And he also mentions that the animatronics are getting more aggressive. That part I do care about. So let's talk about the 2 new threats this night introduces. Withered Bonnie is introduced on this night, and he's one of the coolest characters in the entire game. Not because of what he actually does, he's just a super menacing character, and I think that's really cool. Withered Bonnie will attack you through the hall rather than the vent like in the original. The animation is insane, get ready for this. When he's in your hall, he will step out in front of your doorway and stare at you. This is easily one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. Then after a bit of time, he'll step into your office, and all you have to do is put the mask on until he goes away. Fucking terrifying. I love it. The other character introduced on this night is my favorite official FNAF animatronic ever designed, Withered Chica. She does, literally, the exact same thing as Withered Bonnie, which I do feel is a little lazy. However, she's so fucking cool and easily the creepiest character in this entire game. Seriously, look at this animation when she's in your office and tell me that's not the creepiest thing you've ever seen. God, I love it so much. But those are the only 2 characters introduced on this night. So far, I do think night 3 is the most boring in terms of what happens. Yes, Mangle is still stressful with Toy Freddy, and I did get the craziest attack combo of all fucking time.
You didn't see me. Oh my god. Bitches at every angle! I'm getting railed from every angle. What is this? Hi! You are the most terrifying character in this fucking game. Holy shit. That's badass, dude. Oh my god, and look who's still fucking here.
But in terms of what Night 3 actually brings to the table, I do feel it is a bit lackluster. I know that Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica do the same thing, but at least in a game like FNAF 2 Reimagined, while Bonnie and Chica variants did do the same thing, at least the Withereds and the toys attacked differently from each other. The only thing that's different between the variants this time around is where they come from to get into your office. Night 4. Fuck this. Terrible character introduction. Let's just jump right into it. To begin, of course, we walk through the arcade and play yet another minigame. That is, unless you're me. Since I didn't complete the bullshit minigame from Night 3, I couldn't play the minigame on Night 4. Had I known that was going to be the case, I would have forced myself to beat Night 3's minigame. But fuck me, I guess I'm locked out of all the minigames for the rest of my playthrough. But what actually happens in this minigame? Well, I'm honestly glad I never did play this minigame because it appears to be just as frustrating as the last. In it, you play as who I think is Mangle. You're tasked with finding 5 balloon boys around the map. Afterwards, you move on to the next round and holy shit! It says there's 20 fucking rounds. I think I'm gonna shoot myself. Luckily for us, actually collecting the balloon boys isn't the real objective. Occasionally, a crying child will appear from the ground, and these are the real characters you want to collect. After collecting your first one, a Shadow Bonnie will appear on the map. Touching one will cause the timer at the top of the screen to decrease very quickly, so don't touch them. However, it appears that a crying child spawning only has a small chance to happen every time the map loads, so using them to lose faster to get the level to respawn might actually be an alright strategy for collecting all the kids. Eventually, after collecting a few, as I'm sure you could have already guessed, Spring Dick appears and moves at light speed and camps your body for the rest of the fucking minigame, constantly draining your time at a rate faster than your mom drains all the nutrients out of the buffet line. Once you finally collect all of the crying children, the next level will show all the heads of the characters with missing children stuffed inside of them, and an exit door will appear. Something I noticed specifically about the Golden Freddy head is just how hard it is to see in comparison to the other masks. I'm sure this has some sort of symbolism, but I'm just playing the game, bro. You figure it out. Anyways, after touching the exit door, you walk to the office and it's time for the night section to begin. This night introduces 2 new threats. Let's start with the threat that is so annoying you'll want to light your PC on fire and then throw it in a river. Balloon Boy. Balloon Boy has somehow been made even more annoying than in the original. Except not annoying as in his mechanics, that's actually easier than the original. I mean, his laugh is so much fucking worse. The way he works is pretty simple. He'll attack through either of your vents. Instead of putting the mask on like in the original, you'll instead have to spam flash your light at him. Do that enough and he'll eventually literally run away like a little baby piss diarrhea boy. Obviously, if you don't, he jumps into your office, steals your shit, and Foxy will fuck you since you won't be able to flash him. The other character introduced on this night is Withered Freddy. What does he do? Well, let me tell you, I have no fucking idea. What do you mean you have no idea, Dexter? Didn't you play the game? Yes, I did. However, this series and this Dexter White video specifically, I wanted to try something a little different in the video creation process. Typically, after I finish recording a Black series, if I think the game was worthy of a White video, I'll put it on my White list. Depending on how much I either liked or disliked the game, will determine how high up on the list the game will go. And when it comes time to script a Dexter White video, I choose the video at the top of the list and write the entire script in one sitting. I feel this leads to the beginnings of my scripts being really hard to get into, and I feel that it also makes the amount of energy I have near the end of the script drop off. So I thought for this game I'd try something new. After recording each Dexter Black video on this game, I would write the script specifically for that section. That way, I'm not writing a lot in one sitting and I get a fresh reset every day, which I've noticed has been making me a lot happier with the script in general. However, this does bring up an interesting issue that I've only noticed now while writing and talking about Night 4. While yes, Withered Freddy was introduced, for some reason, he literally never attacked me once throughout the entire night. So I quite literally have no idea what he does and I can't really talk about it. So this is a little awkward. I'm gonna consult the wiki real quick. Just give me a second. Let me just 87, okay, and Night 4. Okay, here we go. Let me just we'll go to the hallway on the well, fuck. I really thought he was gonna do something cool, but no. He does the exact same thing as Withered Bonnie and Withered Chica. Just walks to your hall and eventually goes into your office where you have to put the mask on. Damn it, I really thought they'd do something interesting with this guy, and it's honestly really disappointing that they didn't. I had Withered Freddy appear in my hall multiple times throughout my Night 4 playthrough. However, never once did he attempt to step into my office. If I had to guess why, I'd say it's probably because when he was in the hallway, every other character at the same time decided to be there or be in my office. Oh my god, fucking party in the hallway! Party in the hallway! Let's just fucking not do this. Party in the fucking office! Hello everybody at the same fucking time. Hi guys, fuck off. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're at Night 5 already? What a nice, totally calm and non-stressful ride it's been so far, right? Yeah, no, not really, but let's continue. To start, of course, we have another minigame to talk about, and this one is by far the most frustrating and annoying one yet. In it, we play as the puppet, tasked with giving gifts and then giving life, just like the original. However, unlike the original, where the minigame was quick and easy, this minigame is long and painful. You can see several balloons going from side to side across the screen. You can move along the top of the screen as well, and you're supposed to drop down on the crying children to give them their gift. However, you can't touch the balloons or the balloon boys at the bottom of the screen or you will be reset to the top. Can you see where this is going? This minigame relies on luck, and you just fucking waiting for a good opening to drop down. And get this, as it goes on, it gets even worse. Every time you get a gift, a Shadow Bonnie will appear in the balloons. These Shadow Bonnies will move around and literally push the fucking balloons when they touch them, making the waiting for timings part even more fucking annoying. And you have plenty of them in this game. This game can take several minutes depending on your luck. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if it took someone over 15 minutes to complete this bullshit. After giving the gift to the last kid, the screen goes dark and we're told to give life, putting the character masks on each of the children, with the puppet eerily watching in the background. After giving life, the puppet goes on a 2-decade rant. She gets upset that we keep playing these games, learning what happened to the children, even at its attempts to stop us. She says she has to kill us because apparently us knowing will make them truly die. She says this because obviously she gave them life in the forms of the animatronics. But I'd argue to say that this is a fate even worse than death. Miss fucking Puppet. And I'm willing to bet that freeing the kids and letting them actually die is miles better than having them live in the place where they fucking died for the rest of eternity. So hop off my dick. Before we jump into the next section, there's something I want to mention that I found while roaming around this night. Well, actually 3 things. The first is just how many fucking puppet plushies have been accumulating around the building. Like, there are literally so many of them. The next thing I want to mention is that it was this night that I found you can knock Balloon Boy over, which has probably now become my favorite part of this game. Oh my god, I can knock his stupid ass over. And finally, the real big thing I wanted to talk about is something I found in one of the party rooms. Please, can someone tell me, what the fuck is this thing? There's an endoskeleton you can find in one of the party rooms. I don't know if it's here every night or just this one since I never checked, but tell me, who the fuck is this supposed to be? It never moves and you can't interact with it, but I just thought I'd point this out in case anybody can tell me what the hell this thing is. Anyways, how about we talk about the actual night section now? There's not much to talk about in terms of new threats, but there is something pretty interesting. At the end of the puppet's monologue, she said that tonight would be different than the nights before. She said that we've done a good job stopping her, but not tonight. The puppet gains a new form of attack on this night, and it is so fucking annoying. Remember all those shadow bonnies that are life-ruining from the minigames? Yeah? Well, now they're in the night segments. Have fun, asshole! They show up on your cameras. Several of them, like a fuck ton of them, will appear. They will block your camera buttons, your flashlight button, and your music box wind button. When you click on one of them, they will go away. But if there's even one of them just barely touching the button with their head, their foot, their hand, even just gently plopping the tip of their dick right on top of one of your buttons, you won't be able to interact with it until you get rid of them. And you better believe that when you hear Toy Freddy's fat ass laugh, your blood pressure is gonna spike to 12K as you try to remove all these little fucking shadow bitches from the camera. Oh my god. But that really is the only new thing added to this night. Of course, this night is much harder than night 4, and yes, it's still just as overwhelming with characters constantly jumping all over your shit and grinding in your office constantly throughout the entire night. Thank you for asking. Night 6 time! Holy fucking shit, is there a lot to talk about here. I was honestly expecting this video to be close to 20 minutes, but nope. We're going way over today. So, it was at this moment I learned that in order to play Night 6, I had to beat all the minigames from the previous nights. Fuck me. So, I did that, and now here we are. This night begins with a cutscene, talking about what I can only assume to be the Bite of 87. Or the Bite of 83? I think this one is 83, I'm pretty sure. I literally don't know the FNAF lore at all, it's so fucking awful. In this cutscene, we play as Jeremy Fitzgerald, going into a play area to retrieve a Freddy plushie. Of course, this play area is where Mangle is kept, and it's at this moment we notice that Mangle has the toy in her mouth. Attempting to go get it, she crawls away into the slide. Following behind her, she goes down the slide and we lose sight of her, only to see that she's placed the toy in a very convenient spot.
Ooh, convenient.
Going to grab the toy, Mangle swoops down on us like a pedophile in the park and bites the shit out of us, killing us instantly. Jeremy is then fished up by Old Man Consequences. He explains how people who have died unfairly don't get reeled up to the surface and are forced to stay underneath the ocean until they get peace. Even though we as Jeremy died unfairly, he explains that he made an exception for us because we died due to the supernatural. He also knows that we haven't finished what we started. This conversation with him goes on for a very long time, so let's just skip to the interesting part. We come back to the building. Of course, we're playing as Michael, not Jeremy. Just wanted to make that clear in case anyone was confused as to what was going on. We are indeed Michael Afton in this game. We enter through the back of the building through a vent and go to walk back to the office. However, before we do that, I want to point out that for some reason, Toy Freddy is not on stage and is instead standing in the same party room we saw that weird endoskeleton in previously. Oh, and of course, there's yet another minigame to play. Heading into the arcade, we can begin. This time we play as Chica and we have to bring a bunch of cupcakes to a table. You'll notice that this time around, there is a lack of Shadow Bonnies. That is, until you collect all the cupcakes. If you head up afterwards, you'll see the stick figure Jeremy pointing you towards a wall. Walking into it, we get teleported to a room with several platforms. It's in this room where the big bitch Shadow Bonnie is present. If he touches you, you get teleported back to the cupcake table and will have to come back. In this big platform room, there are characters from every other minigame you've seen so far, retrieving one of the missing children from each, giving them gifts, and then finally giving them life once more. The puppet tells us we need to stay out of its way, and an exit door appears for us to leave. Candy Cadet thought it'd be a great idea to block my fucking path to the office. He speaks to us, but it almost seems as though the puppet is speaking to us through him, given exactly what he says to us.
Congratulations, Michael.
Oh, hey, Candy.
You won a free story. No coins required.
Why do you know my name? Hey, Candy Cadet.
Michael, you should have never come back.
Oh.
I told you to leave us alone.
Oh, is that the fucking marionette?
I'm happy. We are all happy. Do not try to take them away.
You're not all happy.
Tried. You do not want to be like Jeremy. Right, Michael?
Oh yeah, Jeremy got bit.
If you answer that phone, if you listen to Jeremy, I will have to stop you. I know there is good in you. I know you are sorry. Please leave.
Oh, okay. You can't stop me, bro. After this, we find a different way to the office, and the night begins. Nothing new to talk about here, it's just a harder version of Night 5. That is, until we see a certain shadow rabbit in our cameras, and the building goes dark. The lights come back on, and the phone begins to ring. Every camera has too many balloons on it, and our Freddy mask has been replaced by a foxy one. There's no better way for me to explain to you what happens next. It's much better if you just watch for yourself.
What were you even doing? You really think this is that much? Like the one sick with nothing insulting enough. My son is dead, Michael. People pity you. And those who don't pity me are blaming me. Have you thought of my creation? The little face of my restaurant? So many are going to think I failed. They'll think something's broken or wrong with my work. His machine built this kid. Did he not prioritize safety? I'm sorry! I didn't account for my idiot son shoving his little brother down its mouth! I have to parents. I need people to know this warhorse thing that caused this. It was no fault of mine. You are almost an adult. You deserve to take full accountability for this. All of it. You know, I'll never let go of this, Michael. You've ruined my life. I'm going to tear yours apart.
So, Michael has an episode, and Mangle is able to slip into the office and attack him. But hold up. What if I told you Mangle didn't get him? Michael comes too. He survived by jumping into one of the vents. Now it's time for us to make our grand escape. We crawl through the vents into the kitchen where we see Withered Chica. Fucking terrifying, by the way. Sneaking around her, we enter the hallway and a chase with Withered Freddy begins, Withered Bonnie following close behind as well. We run through the back room, interestingly seeing that weird endoskeleton from before, but we don't really have time to focus on that. We close the door to the back room, but it's not long before Withered Foxy starts to chase us as well. Getting into the main party room, a sign falls and blocks Foxy from being able to get us. We try to run to the exit, only for two balloon boys to block the way. Before we can think of what to do, the puppet jumps out of her box and yet another chase occurs. Choosing to run to the emergency exit, Toy Freddy blocks our path. Running back into the main hallways, Toy Bonnie and Chica spot us and the chase continues. Running down the hall, Mangle falls from the ceiling as we make a sharp left into the arcade room. Exiting, Toy Freddy greets us on the other side and we make it to the exit. Fenced off, we seemingly have nowhere to go. Hearing the puppet pounding on the door behind us, we jump behind some pizza boxes to hide. As the puppet breaks her way outside, the sound of police sirens can be heard as the puppet cowers and hides before she can be seen. We look down at the logbook we took, previously owned by Jeremy, and Five Nights at Freddy's Rewritten 87 comes to a close. While yes, this is where the main story ends, there's still something super interesting I want to talk about, and that is this game's extras menu, which actually isn't even a menu. It's basically just a 3D environment you can roam around and explore. The reason I want to talk about it, well, you can re-enter the pizzeria to explore, and around it you can find several Faz tokens. Using these tokens, you can go to the arcade room and have Candy Cadet tell you a story. The story he tells consists of an infamous cave in the woods that everybody is afraid to enter. One day, a child stumbles upon it, and a beast convinces him to go inside the cave with him. The child never exits the cave. Several children entered the cave and never returned. A sorcerer found the cave with the children and banished the beast from inside, locking all the children in the cave with a seal, keeping them safe inside from the beast that trapped them there. The children had the desire to leave, but the sorcerer couldn't let them without breaking the seal and letting the beast back inside. If it wasn't obvious, this story is obviously a metaphor for the missing children's incident. The cave is Freddy's, the beast is William, and the sorcerer is the puppet. This little extra thing you can do with Candy Cadet is honestly super fun, and I think it's such a unique thing to add to an extras menu. Finding these tokens and discovering this story is such a fun experience, and you can see me do it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. But with that, as far as I'm aware, that is all FNAF Rewritten 87 has to offer. Overall, I think this game is nothing short of a masterpiece. It does a great job at making FNAF 2 feel like the overwhelming game Scott originally wanted it to be. The way the story is told is incredible, the graphics and animations are phenomenal, I love the character redesigns, and I really enjoy the mechanical changes where there were some. I would highly recommend you give this game a try, you will not regret it. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game is just another sloppy FNAF 2 remake that the community didn't need? Let me know in the comments below. In my After Hours at Cody's video, I asked you guys what FNAF games you were looking forward to in 2026, and my favorite answer was this one by Mecha Paul. They said the Joy of Creation remake, and I agree. That's a game that's been anticipated for so long, I really hope it can live up to the hype. To subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these talented artists for your fan art. If you'd like to submit your own, you can join the Discord in the description. Thank you to all of my super fan channel members. You guys drank from the Fountain of Aura, which is like the Fountain of Youth, but with aura. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!